In 1945, 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers took off from Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station on a routine training exercise over the Atlantic Ocean. The flight was called Training Flight 19. The weather was clear. The pilots were experienced. The route was one they had flown dozens of times before. 2 hours after takeoff, the flight leader radioed the control tower with a message that has never been fully explained. He said that his compass was not working and that the ocean did not look right. He said he was not sure which direction was west. Then the radio filled with confused transmissions from the other pilots saying the same thing. Then the transmission stopped. All 5 aircraft and 14 men vanished completely. A rescue aircraft sent to find them also disappeared with its 13-man crew. 27 men and 6 aircraft were gone. Not a single piece of wreckage was ever recovered. The U.S. Navy's official investigation concluded that the disappearance was caused by the flight leader becoming disoriented over the ocean. The report noted that the sea conditions were rough and that the aircraft likely ran out of fuel and ditched. It also noted something that the official public summary did not emphasize. In the area where Flight 19 disappeared, the compasses on multiple aircraft failed simultaneously and independently, which the report described as unexplained. That word, unexplained, appears in the declassified U.S. Navy and Coast Guard incident files for the Bermuda Triangle region more than any other single word. Not unexplained in the sense of supernatural. Unexplained in the sense that the instruments failed, the navigation systems failed, and the physical conditions observed by trained military personnel did not match what the instruments were showing or what standard atmospheric and oceanographic science predicted. What those files actually contain is more interesting than any myth. This is what the declassified records say. The term Bermuda Triangle was coined by journalist Vincent Gaddis in a 1964 article in Argosy magazine. The area he described is roughly triangular, with vertices at Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, covering approximately 500,000 square kilometers of the Atlantic Ocean. Before Gaddis named it, the accumulation of unexplained disappearances in this region had been noted in U.S. Navy and Coast Guard internal reports going back to the 1940s. These reports were declassified under the Freedom of Information Act beginning in the 1970s and continuing through subsequent decades. Researchers who have examined the original documents have found something that the popular mythology of the Bermuda Triangle gets almost completely wrong. The files do not describe a zone of inexplicable supernatural activity. They describe a zone with documented unusual physical characteristics that create genuinely hazardous conditions for navigation that are not fully replicated anywhere else in the Atlantic Ocean. The hazards are real. The science behind them is documented. And some of it remains incompletely understood. The first documented unusual characteristic is the compass anomaly. The Bermuda Triangle is one of only 2 places on Earth where true north and magnetic north align, meaning that a compass in this region points to true north rather than magnetic north. This sounds like a small technical detail. For navigation it is not. Every navigation calculation made using a magnetic compass assumes a predictable deviation between magnetic north and true north called magnetic declination. Pilots and sailors account for this deviation automatically. In the Bermuda Triangle region, that deviation disappears, and a pilot or navigator who does not know this will calculate a course that is systematically wrong in a way that is not obvious from the instruments. The U.S. Navy's own navigational charts included a specific warning about this magnetic anomaly for decades. The warning was present in the official materials available to any navigator operating in the region. But in multiple incident reports in the declassified files, pilots and crew members described compass behavior that went beyond simple alignment with true north. They described compasses spinning, compasses showing different readings on different instruments in the same aircraft, and compasses behaving erratically in ways that the magnetic anomaly alone does not explain. The second documented characteristic is the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is a powerful ocean current that runs through the Bermuda Triangle region at speeds of up to 9 km per hour. It is one of the fastest and most powerful ocean currents on Earth. When an aircraft ditches in the Gulf Stream or a vessel sinks in it, the wreckage is moved rapidly from the point of impact. Within hours it can be many kilometers from where the incident occurred. Within days it can be hundreds of kilometers away or in water depths that make recovery impossible. The Gulf Stream is the most significant documented explanation for why so many Bermuda Triangle incidents leave no recoverable wreckage, and it is clearly described in the Declassified Incident Analyses.in 1981. A geological survey team from the US Geological Survey published findings about the seafloor beneath the Bermuda Triangle region that introduced a scientific explanation for some disappearances that had no precedent in maritime or aviation safety research. The seafloor beneath the Bermuda Triangle contains one of the largest concentrations of methane hydrate deposits ever documented. Methane hydrates are a form of frozen methane gas locked in ice-like structures in the deep seafloor sediment. They are stable under the cold high-pressure conditions of the deep ocean. But they are sensitive to changes in temperature and pressure. When conditions change, methane hydrates can destabilize rapidly, releasing enormous quantities of methane gas into the water column in what geologists call a blowout. The physics of a methane blowout in the ocean creates conditions that directly explain some categories of unexplained maritime disappearances. When a large quantity of methane gas erupts from the seafloor, it rises through the water column as a massive bubble. The water in the affected area becomes saturated with gas and its density drops dramatically. A ship caught above a methane blowout can lose buoyancy so rapidly that it sinks before any distress signal can be sent. The sinking happens so fast that there is no time for lifeboats, no debris field on the surface, and no radio call. This is not a theory invented to explain the Bermuda Triangle. It is a documented physical phenomenon with laboratory verification and field observation. The research question is whether blowouts of sufficient scale to sink ships occur in the Bermuda Triangle region with any frequency. A study published in the American Journal of Physics confirmed the theoretical basis of the blowout buoyancy mechanism. Subsequent geological research documented that the Bermuda Triangle region contains evidence of past large-scale methane blowout events visible in the seafloor topography. Craters in the seafloor of a scale consistent with large historical blowout events have been documented in the region. What the research cannot definitively establish is whether a blowout of sufficient scale to sink a vessel has occurred in the region during the period of documented maritime activity. The geological evidence shows that large blowouts have occurred in the past. The physics confirms that they could sink ships without warning. The connection between specific historical disappearances and specific blowout events remains a hypothesis that the available evidence supports but cannot confirm. The U.S. Navy's own oceanographic research arm, the Naval Oceanographic Office, has conducted extensive surveys of the seafloor methane deposits in the region. The relevant portions of that research remain classified. What has been declassified acknowledges the presence of significant methane hydrate deposits and notes their potential navigational hazard without specifying the details of what the classified surveys found. The disappearance of Flight 19 is the most documented incident in the Bermuda Triangle record and the one for which the most official investigation material has been declassified. Reading the full investigation report rather than the public summary reveals details that the official narrative minimized. The investigation established that the flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, radioed at approximately 15:45 that his compasses were not working. The official report attributed this to instrument malfunction and noted that Taylor may have become confused about his position as a result. What the report does not prominently note is that the other pilots in the flight reported the same compass problem independently. 5 aircraft with independent navigation instruments all showed compass malfunction simultaneously. The probability of 5 independent instrument failures occurring simultaneously in 5 aircraft in the same formation is not zero, but it is vanishingly small. The official investigation did not calculate this probability or address it directly. It noted the simultaneous failures and described them as unexplained. The radio transcripts from the final hours of Flight 19 reveal something else that the official summary did not emphasize. Taylor repeatedly described visual confusion about his environment. He said the ocean looked wrong. He said the water appeared white. He said he could not tell which direction he was heading even visually. These are not descriptions of a pilot who is simply lost. They are descriptions of a pilot experiencing visual disorientation of a kind that standard aviation training does not prepare pilots to handle. Whitewater observations in the Bermuda Triangle region have been documented in multiple independent reports over decades. They are associated with bioluminescence, with algal blooms, and with upwellings of deep water that changes the surface appearance of the ocean. But the scale of whitening described in some reports is not consistent with known bioluminescent phenomena. Some oceanographers have proposed that large-scale methane gas releases rising through the water column could create the appearance of white water across large areas of ocean surface. This hypothesis connects the visual anomalies reported by Flight 19 and other incidents to the methane deposit question. The rescue aircraft that disappeared searching for Flight 19, a Mariner patrol bomber designated PBM-5, was seen by the crew of a merchant vessel to explode approximately 23 minutes after takeoff. The explosion was attributed to a fuel leak in the aircraft, which were known to have this problem. This disappearance, frequently cited as part of the Bermuda Triangle mystery, has a documented mundane explanation that the mythology routinely ignores. This is a recurring pattern in the full declassified record. Many incidents attributed to the Bermuda Triangle have documented conventional explanations that the mythology obscures. But some incidents, including Flight 19, contain documented anomalies that the official investigations noted and then declined to pursue further. One of the most consistent categories of anomaly in the declassified incident reports and in first-hand accounts from pilots and sailors who operate regularly in the Bermuda Triangle region is what researchers have come to call electronic fog. This is not an official scientific term. It is a descriptive term used by multiple independent witnesses to describe the same phenomenon. The phenomenon is described consistently across dozens of accounts spanning several decades. A pilot or sailor encounters what appears to be a bank of fog or cloud. Upon entering it, all electronic instruments fail simultaneously. The compass spins. The GPS shows incorrect or impossible coordinates. Radio communication becomes impossible, transmitting but receiving no response and unable to receive transmissions. The disorientation is total. The aircraft or vessel is operating blind. Some accounts describe the electronic fog as having a specific visual quality different from ordinary cloud or fog. It is described as luminous, as having a grayish or greenish tint, and as appearing to move in ways that ordinary fog does not. When the aircraft or vessel exits the fog, instruments resume normal function immediately. Bruce Jernon is a pilot who has flown in the Bermuda Triangle region for decades and has provided a documented first-hand account of this phenomenon that has been studied by aviation researchers. In 1970, Jernon was flying a Beechcraft Bonanza from Andros Island to Palm Beach when he encountered a cloud formation that he described as unlike any cloud he had seen in years of flying. He entered the cloud and experienced total instrument failure. His compass spun. His radio did not function. Looking out the window, he saw what he described as a tunnel of cloud with a spiral configuration. He flew through the tunnel. When he emerged, his instruments resumed function. He arrived at Palm Beach 30 minutes ahead of his calculated flight time, which was impossible given his fuel consumption and the distance traveled. Jernon's account has been subjected to skeptical analysis and various conventional explanations have been proposed. None of them fully account for all the details of his documented testimony, including the fuel consumption record, the arrival time discrepancy, and the instrument behavior he described. The U.S. Air Force's own research into weather phenomena in the western Atlantic has documented a category of atmospheric electrical discharge associated with thunderstorm systems in the region that can generate electromagnetic pulses strong enough to temporarily disable aircraft instruments. This phenomenon, related to what meteorologists call sprites and elves, forms of upper atmosphere lightning, occurs more frequently over the warm water of the Gulf Stream region than over most other parts of the Atlantic. It provides a partial physical explanation for instrument failure events. It does not explain the visual phenomena described by Jernon and others. In 2016, a team of meteorologists from the University of Colorado published satellite analysis of cloud formations over the Bermuda Triangle region that documented the existence of unusual hexagonal cloud formations. These formations, ranging from 20 to 55 miles across, are associated with what meteorologists call microbursts of sinking air that can create surface winds in excess of 170 miles per hour with virtually no warning. These air bombs, as the research team described them, are a documented meteorological phenomenon. They occur in the North Sea off the coast of Norway as well as in the Bermuda Triangle region. They are caused by the interaction of warm ocean surface temperatures with atmospheric conditions that create sudden downbursts of cold dense air. A vessel or aircraft caught in a microburst of this scale would be destroyed within seconds. It would leave no wreckage pattern that would be interpretable as a ship sinking or an aircraft crashing. The debris would be scattered over a wide area and rapidly dispersed by the Gulf Stream, the honest scientific assessment of the Bermuda Triangle in the current state of knowledge is the following. The region has documented unusual physical characteristics including a magnetic compass anomaly, the Gulf Stream current, large methane hydrate seafloor deposits, hexagonal cloud microbursts, and elevated frequency of severe weather events associated with the warm Gulf Stream water. Each of these individually presents navigational hazards that exceed those found in most other parts of the Atlantic Ocean. Together they create an environment where the probability of maritime and aviation incidents is genuinely elevated compared to similar traffic areas elsewhere. The Lloyd's of London insurance market, which maintains the most comprehensive actuarial database of maritime losses in the world, does not charge elevated premiums for vessels transiting the Bermuda Triangle region. Their data does not show an anomalous loss rate for the region compared to other heavily trafficked ocean areas. This is the most important single data point for evaluating the Bermuda Triangle phenomenon. The organization with the most financial incentive to identify genuine elevated risk has looked at the data and found no anomaly. This does not mean that nothing unusual happens in the Bermuda Triangle. It means that the rate of unusual incidents is not statistically distinguishable from the rate in other similar ocean regions when traffic volume is accounted for. The Bermuda Triangle is one of the most heavily trafficked ocean regions in the world. More traffic means more incidents. More incidents means more opportunity for unusual or unexplained events to be documented. What remains genuinely unexplained after all the conventional analysis is applied is a smaller set of incidents than the mythology suggests but a larger set than the debunking literature acknowledges. The simultaneous compass failures on Flight 19. The electronic fog accounts from multiple independent experienced pilots. The white water observations that do not match known bioluminescent phenomena. The classified portions of the Naval Oceanographic Office's methane hydrate surveys, these are not explained by the Gulf Stream or by pilot error or by severe weather. They are in the files. They are marked unexplained. And the agencies that investigated them have not provided explanations that account for all the documented details. The Bermuda Triangle is smaller than the myth and stranger than the debunking. The myth says that a supernatural force is taking ships and planes into another dimension. The debunking says that nothing unusual happens there at all and that it is all human error and bad weather. The declassified files say something more interesting than either of these positions. They say that there is a region of ocean with documented unusual physical properties where trained military personnel with functioning equipment have experienced navigational anomalies that standard physics and meteorology do not fully explain. They say that the investigations into these anomalies were closed with the word unexplained in the file. They say that some of the relevant research remains classified 40 and 50 years after the incidents. The truth about the Bermuda Triangle is not that it is a portal to another dimension. The truth is that it is an unusually complex ocean environment whose physical properties we understand well enough to know they are unusual and not well enough to explain every documented incident. That is a more honest and in some ways more disturbing conclusion than any myth, because myths have explanations. The unexplained files do not subscribe. Because the ocean covers 71% of this planet and we have mapped less of it than we have mapped the surface of Mars. What is down there is not supernatural. But it is not fully known either.